book called Chronicles of Sandy Springs. So one day when I was living in Sandy Springs, I just posted a video exactly where I lived, and it was called Little Mexico. And it was called this for a reason. There were thousands of Mexicans, mainly Honduran, Spanish people of all descent, live in this little area of Sandy Springs, and they call it Little Mexico. And I moved there. A boss I was working for had a townhouse in there, and so I moved in after I got out of jail. I mentioned it was nearly impossible to rent a place to live because of the charges I had. So, it's no stranger to nobody by now that's seen any of my videos that Zach, my stepson, was a living monster. Okay, this kid was and got into everything, you name it. Like I said before, this kid has no fear. He stole a car. Somehow he broke into a car dealership, managed to find keys to a van, brand new van, went out, got in it, drove around the parking lot like a maniac, doing donuts and shit, and set the son of a bitch on fire. So I'm just giving you a backstory to the kind of shit this kid we were dealing with, right? So this is the kind of shit he was doing on the regular, and I did another video on it. I dealt with police in a 3 to 5 year span. More than 95% of people ever deal with the police in their entire lives. These kids were brutal. They were getting the cops involved, not just on the regular, but on the daily. So Zach pushed and pushed and pushed, and he kept on. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about it because I'm passing the exit right now. It's Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, Georgia. And like I said before, it's cracking over there. It's gangland. And so you wouldn't have thought how I got wrapped up in some shit. You wouldn't have thought that it would have happened. The kind of neighborhood I'm describing to you, people were casual, people were kosher. 99.9% of the people, our neighbors, were people from other countries, people that didn't want the police around, right? All foreigners. All my neighbors were foreigners. Well, I had these one foreigners that were neighbors, right? I don't know where they were from, but like one of the Greece type countries. They were quite odd, right? So we had these neighbors. Most all of our neighbors were Spanish people, but our immediate neighbors, not everyone was. There was a couple of white people, but it was slim to none. Very few of us white people there. It was mainly Spanish people. So anyways, my neighbor, just by coincidence, is a lady from, and her husband are from, like I said, like one of these Greece countries, and we didn't get along at all. They would have these parties, odd off timing, right? They would have, and we were in townhouses, so our walls were paper thin pretty much. So they would have these parties, and they'd have like 20 people over, like at least 3 days a week, right? Like a Tuesday night, or like I said, some crazy off times. Shit didn't make sense, but and they would throw these parties, right? And so a lot of times I'd have to go bang on the door and tell them to shut up, keep it down, because I had to go to work. They were being loud, they had music cranked, and so this was going on all the time, right? One night, I'm trying to go to sleep, and I can hear them talking, right? They're out on their balcony, which is right next to our, when you're in townhouses like that, you're like, the person who's outside, you can hear everything they say, right? So these people decide to have like 20 people over, and it was like Sunday night. I remember it was a really peculiar time to be, being loud and obnoxious. There was like, I looked out my back balcony window, and I looked out, and there was like 8 women sitting around the table talking, gossiping, yapping, giggling, and I was like, what the fuck? And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? I gotta be up for work in a few hours. So it started, like 10, 12. Tried talking to them. Told them to keep it down. It was 2 o'clock in the morning when they finally woke me up, and I finally had enough and told them to shut the F up. And, if they didn't quit, I was going to have to call the police. You cut it out, They were killing me. They were out there, yapping around outside my bedroom window and keeping me up all night. So like I said, this went off and on for some time, so we didn't get along, right? At all. So, at one point, I think I was at work, and Zach and my other son, Colin, I think they were smoking pot and shit in the back, right? Whatever they were doing, these people had it out for us. For all of us. Like I said, I was forced into being an asshole, and I did have to call the police one night because they had the freaking stereo. I'm talking bumping. I mean, balls to the walls, bumping at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not talking Friday, Saturday night. We're talking Monday, Tuesday night. And so there's a time or two I had to call the police. I didn't have a choice. Try to get along with these people, couldn't. So they had it out for us. And part of me can't blame them because my sons were such brats. I don't blame them, but I'm giving you the backlog. It wasn't all me. It wasn't all my kids. These people had started a war. They had their fucking Greek parties at odd hours. And one night I walked over there, and it was real loud. And like I said, it didn't start out me just going, having to raise my voice and stuff. I asked him several times on several different occasions this went down, and so in retaliation they called the police. They called the drug task force. Okay, I'm sitting upstairs in my bedroom, and I get that knock, that distinct knock. Anyone who's been to jail more than once knows that knock. And I was in my using days. I was heavy in my addiction. And I heard that boom, boom, boom. My eyes got as big as saucers. Scared the living shit out of me, right? So I come down there and I go outside and I said, yes, can I help you, sir? It's the Sandy Springs Drug Task Force. Not just cops. These were drug dogs, drug task force, bulletproof vests, guns galore, guns, like a gun on their, I remember I had like a gun on their leg too. You have a gun on your leg strapped with some Velcro around it, whatever. They were balls to the wall, gilled out. And they said, and I opened the door and I said, yes, sir, can I help you? I said, hi, Mr. Ruskoff, you have kids here? I said, actually, for thank God for me, my boys had just moved out. I said, I heard you had children here. There's been marijuana, drugs being done over here, sold over here. You could tell someone had called and thrown some dirt. So I said, no, sir. And he said, well, since you have children here, do you mind if I come in and search? You're going to have to, either you can let me in or I can get a warrant. It's no problem, but you need to let me come in and search. And I said, no, sir. You're going to have to get a warrant then, I guess. You're not coming in. And I had dope in the house, and I had dope inside. and I'm freaking out. And he says, okay, we talked for about 10 minutes or so, and he wasn't alone. It was a street, that whole street was with cops galore, standing outside, scaring the shit out of me, trying to make a point, make a scene. A lot of cops standing out in front of my house, and and I said, okay, no, I guess you have to get a warrant. He leaves, or excuse me, I leave. I go inside and shut the door, and went upstairs, and I contemplated getting rid of my dope, right? But it was in my addiction days. It wasn't going down like that. And so I held on to my dope. 5 minutes later, knock, 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 knock. I go to the door. Yes, can I help you? Oh, we're waiting on that warrant any time now. You might as well just let us come in. We know you got some stuff in there. Let's just come in and walk around. I said, no. I said, my sons don't live here. They were minors, so that was the only leeway, the leg that he had to stand on, and he was trying to pull with me. And lucky for me that this time my boys weren't in the house. Zach had been kicked out and Colin had moved out, and that was for my benefit, thank God. And he stood outside my door for hours. The drug task force, I've been to jail, not been that scared. I've been in a lot worse situations. They had me petrified. Probably the scariest I've ever been in my life out of all the shit I've seen. Like peeking out the window and seeing them. And because of my addiction, I couldn't let go of my drugs, For someone that, had some pills or whatever, some drugs that could just flushed it, whatever, I couldn't. So just having to hold on to it was like a nightmare, It was like the devil was right in my doorstep. It was a trip. Could you imagine having to hold dope and peek out the window and drug task force banging on your door, peeking in the windows, walking around, talking on the walkie-talkie? I don't know. I'm thinking they're waiting for a warrant. Gonna bust in any minute. I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to do something. I have to get rid of it. Shit, And our front door was already kicked in, right? There was the lady that lived at the place before I did, right? Who must have been the previous renter to the guy I worked with. And there was all kind of meth paraphernalia, meth pipes, meth bombs, all kind of dope and shit, pills. I found shit hidden for days. Well, whatever the deal was, the case was, she must have been on probation or something, because they kicked the door. The police kicked the door in, and she went to jail. That's all I know. It didn't, I wouldn't have dared to ask too many more questions than that. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, there was whoever it was. She had hidden meth. I found meth in there in a couple different hiding spots. I found meth pipes. I found pills. My boys found pills and drugs. I mean, it was a crazy situation. And so our door had like this footprint from when they had been in. So they, that place was hot. In other words, it was hot, and not getting along with my neighbors really did not help matters. Try to teach, reach one, teach one. I want to try to instill some things into some youngsters. I hope you get to hear this, Take the easier road traveled, You don't have to live like a maniac like me and my family have. You don't have to. It's your choice. It's your choice if you want to be happy, mad, sad, depressed, suicidal, or happy. It's your decision. No one gets to make that call for you. You can be as low self-esteem as you possibly can have, and you can still be the happiest person that you never dreamed you could. I'm living proof. Most all my friends are dead, and one out of three of my best friends, one of my best friends just killed himself 3.5, 4 months ago. Aaron McDowell. So this mental shit weighs heavy on me, and this shit I've been through and experienced, I've lived literally a nightmare. And it was all from the choices that I made. I opened the door to evil, you know. I did it by just my choices, just the things I did, choices I made. I made my own hell. It wasn't until I got clean for the first time in decades that I could, see it, think clearly, and think rationally. I hadn't thought rationally in decades, truthfully. I've raised a family, but thank God I've had my wife's help, and that I could work and do that. I've worked and done that. I didn't think I could do that. But that's only the half of it. It's only a small portion. The big portion is staying away from drugs and bad people and doing bad shit. That's the key that I didn't grasp from being put on pills at a very young age. Addiction wasn't my choice. I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask to be a drug addict. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. It becomes, you become brainwashed. You will become brainwashed. You let the doctors put you on pills. You will eventually think that you have to have it. I still think I have to have it. And I'm grown, almost 50 years old. I still think brainwashed into thinking I have to have it. Sick. So, I wanted to share that with the neighbors. Calling the drug task force on me. This is this is not even the same place where I was the first time when Zach stole the van. We lived somewhere else. This is two different towns, two different places. This is two different police organizations that I had to deal with. Mad crazy shit. Like I said, I come home from work one time. My sons were down at Burger King shooting guns off, BB guns, whatever. They had the entire police force came. Cops. I used to go to my wife's work, and cops were up there talking to her while she's sitting there making sandwiches at work. She's talking to the police. And this is like the norm. Happened more times than it didn't. I know it sounds like bullshit. That's the honest to God truth. Look up Zachary Jones. Look up my son. See what he's about. I wish I could tell you he's done some shit that I can't even talk about. Those are some good stories. But it's pretty obvious why I can't talk about it. Well, what are we going to call this one? What are we going to call this one? That was the one time that I said that I dealt with the entire drug task force. That was way scarier than I ever imagined. I got caught with acid in a parking lot when I was 21, and me and an ex-girlfriend's best friend, and when they found the acid, the parking lot turned into a movie scene. And the crazy funny thing about it was my buddy Clint Cheek's mom worked at this Mazda dealership. I didn't even know this at the time. She sat and watched the whole thing go down. I busted a Yui on 41 into my buddy's mom's, where she works, Mazda dealership. I bust a Yui, I get pulled over, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Years later, my buddy Clint tells me his mom watched the whole thing go down. I said, how the hell did she how would she even recognize me? How did she even know? That was the crazy part. Because I had only seen his mom maybe once. Maybe once, maybe twice. I don't know how the hell she knew me at that time. That's weird. Those are some of the probably the most police force shit I've dealt with is those couple of episodes. And that shit was wild. Imagine, like, how many cops were there? It was like 18, 20, 30 cops. There were so many I couldn't count. When they found the acid, detectives came out, guys in suits came out, besides all your street cops and all those regular cops. They thought they had something big. And, but I wasn't near as scared as I was when the drug task force, though, to be honest. When the drug task force was outside my door, that definitely made my shit box pucker up. I guess this is, that's it on that one. I'm drumming up which story I'm going to come up with next. But seeing a drug task force, entire task force, out your front, peeking out your window, seeing that is something I hope none of you ever have to experience. I am ADD's advocate. I am not just a president, I am a client as well. See you next time.